So this is the October 13th, 2021 meeting of the Fire Station Building Committee. I do have to take roll call because Justin's remote.
Right.
Okay. Chris Baker, present. John Kent.
Present.
Aaron Hunt.
Here.
Aaron Kenny.
Present.
Blythe Robinson.
Here.
Justin Yanosik.
Via Zoom.
Oh, there he is. Okay, it's a little bit of a delay.
Yes.
Okay, so all present, I'll call the meeting to order. First agenda item is public comment. He's on Zoom, right, other than Justin?
There are 4 people, a person named Jason, but I don't know who that is.
It's our Jason.
Oh, okay.
Jason Harris.
Jason Harris.
Okay.
Anyone for
Nope.
public comment, raise their hand?
Don't see any. So is this a staff person of yours?
Yes, he was part of the interview programming.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, then we'll move right into it.
What's that, Jason?
Just said hello.
Okay.
Hello.
From his tin can, it sounds
Yeah.
like.
Like, yeah.
He's back in the basement.
I'm sure that's probably our end, but, okay, so, first agenda item, actually they're numbered 2 through 5, but these were just some bullet points that I thought we should maybe touch on tonight, but I'll certainly leave it to the experts to kind of walk us through the kickoff meeting, but the few things I wanted to at least touch on, and everybody else can chime in if they have anything else that they think is pertinent, is just nailing down the overall project schedule as well as the feasibility study schedule. Discuss community involvement plan for the project, any specific feasibility study needs and next steps and other required services. I know specifically in that one we wanted to touch a little bit on geotech and maybe anything else we might think is warranted for feasibility. So
I think Don has put together a short but informative presentation that covers all of your topics. Fair level of detail.
Yeah, so we saw the agenda and we said, well, let's address it. We were working on a schedule anyway. And we think we're understanding what you want to do in terms of schedule and the over, short term and overall schedule. So we can certainly talk about that. I guess before I start, thank you. This is our first meeting together, so appreciate being selected for the project. We're very excited about getting started. And Ron, who was our project manager, would be here tonight, but he flew to Denver for a planning conference. So he might end up joining.
Okay.
He was supposed to land at 6:30 our time, so knowing him, he'll sit in the airport and jump on if he lands in time. So, and of course Jason Harris is remote, who is the person who'll be doing our programming, and I know Chief has already been communicating with you about that and some of the early design concepts. So we've jumped in kind of head first already, and got our consultants all teed up. Actually have hazardous materials consultants set to come out the 19th at 8:30 in the morning to walk through the building. That's Amar Deed from Universal Engineering.
UEC.
Yep, UEC. So they'll be out there then.
What kind of assessment are they doing? Because we already had one completed of the facility.
So basically, we have that information. So he's going to go out. We need to own it at some level. So he's going to confirm what's in that report and or add things to it. So and that'll be true with all our consultants, because we know there's a lot of information that's been gathered already.
Sure.
So they're going to be looking at that. We're going to want to get them in the building also on site.
yeah, that's probably a good point. We've shared the previous feasibility, or not feasibility report, but condition survey report.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A number of them.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there anything that we didn't have that you were still looking, or we should?
Well, you have it on your list.
We'll get there.
Okay. Sorry.
So maybe if you could go full screen with the presentation. We'll talk about schedule.
Sure.
And if we go to the next slide, there we go. And that's in the handout too, and I apologize, I was in the office, didn't think to make copies, so I did it from home, so my ink is low, so the colors aren't so good. But
I was
it,
gonna say, new logo.
oh yeah, yeah, not intentional. Yeah, the kind of lilac color W. So, the way we set up, we thought we'd start with here's what we see the overall schedule being, and then we'll zero in on the feasibility study, and then the next steps after the feasibility study. But in terms of big picture, what we see happening is the feasibility study going from now to the end of the year, getting to a point where we have a preferred option. We're presuming a select board approval to move into the next phase. And then in January, moving into schematic design, design development, and construction documents from January till the beginning of September. And then we'd want to have the project out to bid in September, 4 to 6 week bid period, with 2 months for review of bids and making sure everything's in order in preparation for a November town meeting. I think we've said, we
At the 8th.
picked the date, the 8th, right?
Yeah, I mean, that can be flexible. This year, usually it's a week later. This year, we're trying moving it up a week, so it just makes the tax rate setting on the back end process a little easier, which is also kind of critical.
Mhm.
But, you know, Matt?
With the bid, I thought you only had a 30-day to award the contract to the bid.
It's
So-
actually 30 working
Working
days,
Working
so
days.
it
45.
yeah, usually works out to about 6 weeks
Okay.
of
But there's
calendar time.
there's gonna be really careful timing, because if we need a debt exclusion as well, we've gotta schedule an election basically
And had to vote.
to get the vote. So, I mean, we're gonna have to just think about all of that. I mean, I don't wanna have an extra town meeting, say, let's say we decide it's really better if we wait until January, rather than try to get people to the polls between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I mean, that's just something that all has to be worked out, but the timing of that's gotta be
Sure.
well coordinated.
Yeah,
We also have flexibility
that's true.
in extending that 30 days.
Yes,
Is, you know, you could go as far as 60. You start to get beyond 60 working days, bidders start to get a little bit hesitant.
right.
Sure,
Right. I was gonna say the same thing. We've done that. You build it right into the bid specs, so they know what the time to award could be.
And, I mean, looking at this schedule, so if we had the town meeting vote in November, it's start of construction in January, I mean, that's probably gonna depend on what we're doing, how much you're really gonna start in January.
Yeah, which is actually, it's a good time to start,
Yeah.
because what you're doing is that time of year with the bidding, contractors looking towards the next year to fill their book. So this would work out well, and if the weather is such that you can't actually get out there, depending on what the solution is, certainly submittals and whatnot can be front-loaded, and they have the site all set up. And you can see we have the construction period from 12 to 20 months. 12 is probably a little too short, 20 is probably a little too long, or maybe somewhere in between, depending on whether it's all new construction or addition renovation, and there's phasing involved. So we're trying to capture all the possibilities there. But that seems reasonable, and then of course after that you have probably 60 to 90 day closeout period for the contractor, and then we stay involved throughout after that. So that's kind of the big picture look at what we're seeing, and we're flexible too. We understand that everything's not fully worked out with the town, so however it works for the votes, we'll certainly work around that.
And so you've got roughly 8 months for schematic design through bid documents,
Correct.
essentially.
Correct.
And so you think, I know we don't know the exact size of the building we're gonna have yet, but you think that's realistic?
Yeah, we feel comfortable
Yeah.
doing that. If you ever have more time, that's okay.
Sure.
But less time, I think, would be tight.
Yeah.
So when you say the November date can change, you want the town meeting in November though?
Well, we have to have it because we're gonna do it, we typically do our capital expenditures then,
Okay.
which is why timing it then makes sense. People are used to, this is when they're gonna ask us to buy a truck or
Right.
do something else.
Right.
But we have to have it really we could have it in early December, but getting the DOR to do its tax rate setting process gets more challenging the longer you wait, and then
Mhm.
printing tax bills, so that's why we have it
Yep.
in November. But we can have another town meeting, it's just we need to coordinate with a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, no, again, we have no problem
Yeah.
meeting the schedule, so, but if things slip during this initial phase and now we're at January,
Yeah.
February, then we might be having another conversation.
Sure.
But that's certainly not what we're anticipating right now. Hit the next slide. This is where Ron created the circuit board of a schedule. So there's a lot of great detail here.
Yeah.
This is the feasibility study timeframe, basically from the start of the contract right through to the end of the year for the feasibility study phase. And it's really broken down into three components. October, what's left of it now, being spent on the programming, as I mentioned earlier on, we've already started that. And the existing conditions analysis, which we're getting into also. So what we want to be able to do is have an understanding of where we're going with the building size by the beginning of November, which will allow us to start and initially we'll do some site test fits. And I think maybe the best way to talk about the approach to design is the apparatus bays all fit on the ground floor. So depending on when we have apparatus bays, those are usually the largest component that take up the most site. The administrative and living space, if everything can be on one floor, great. Very rare that we do a single-story fire station. Typically, we have admin support services for the apparatus on the ground floor, and then living space up on the second floor. Sometimes admin's up at the living space, and we'll work all that out with you, whatever the preference is. So a one-story apparatus bay is really a story and a half, almost 2 stories, and then 2 stories of admin and living space adjacent or wrapped around or something to that effect. That would probably be the largest footprint that you see on the site. We've also done stations where we've put a majority of the living space on top of the apparatus bays. If the site is such that we want to have a smaller building footprint, when you do that, you're going to have about a 21.6 floor-to-floor height as opposed to a 14-foot floor-to-floor height. So it just means there's more travel distance from above to down below. But we'll look at all those possibilities as we start to do some of these site test fits early on. And then depending on how those are working out, we'll get into more detail with how all the adjacencies are working within the building. So some early test fit with the program, say 90% set, because there's always some flexibility in there. Working on the adjacency diagrams within the building, and then pulling all that together between the site and the adjacencies in the building, and then bringing up your concepts. And as we know, we're going to be looking at renovations, additions, and new. So we're going to be looking at a number of different options on the site, so we explore all that. I think what's important, you see that 11/8 date, and whether it's there or a week later, that's where we like to have a sense that whatever we're doing is going to fit on the site, because this is our focus. And as we said, and as we understand, all the other architects said, it probably shouldn't be a problem fitting the building here. But we just want to make sure that that's the case before we continue really getting into to all the details. So that's a date that's important to keep in mind. And then we'll work through back and forth with you guys right out through till the end of November, beginning of December, to finalize not just the building layout, but the building imagery. We'll be doing simple massing to begin with, but we'll be talking about materials. And we'll take it as far as we can with you, depending on how how the decisions are made on the materials, the imagery. We know we want something that's going to be in keeping with the village look, so we fully understand that going in. And then the thought is perhaps a select board approval sometime near the end of December, perhaps the beginning of January, again, depending on how things work out.
I'm gonna let them know that we're targeting the 21st of December. And if it has to slip, it'll be the first meeting in January, but that's the goal.
Okay.
So they know it's kind of.
Terrific. And then the other thing that's important is that because it is, I mean, this time's gonna go by fast, right? We have no problem moving this right along. We just want to make sure that you're comfortable with what we're doing. So we've set up weekly meetings. We're talking about, and we set it up as working group / building committee. So we can meet with this full committee on a weekly basis, and we can meet with a subgroup of this committee. However you want to do it, we can meet with a working group earlier in the day, then building committee that evening. Or if that particular day doesn't work for the building committee, we can do it on a different night. So that's certainly not nailed down, but I think the important message is that we certainly want to touch base on a weekly basis with the whole group, a subset of the group, whether it's 1, 2 meetings, however it works out best for everyone here.
Would be a problem if it's the whole group, because then it would have to be a posted open meeting.
Yeah, it can't be more than 3 of us
Yeah.
at a meeting, otherwise I do have to post a meeting 48 hours in advance, so.
So our working groups at 3 o'clock on Mondays are not gonna be a full.
Well, I think it's something for the committee to discuss. I mean, if people want to be involved, you can. It's just that my office needs to know so that we're making sure we get the meeting scheduled or we're not getting the meeting scheduled, and it's,
That's your preference.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm planning to go to as many as I can. I think it's critical that the chief is at every one of them because it's the building they were putting together. You know, if a member wants to, one of you or 2 of you want to regularly plan to go, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly be available. I don't know if I'll be able to make it every week, but we could at least pencil maybe one of us to sit in on a rotating basis.
Sure. Yeah, not to be selfish, but I don't really want to do minutes for every working group meeting every week for a board meeting.
I feel like it's.
Oh, if it was an open, if it
Yeah.
was a true meeting.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, unless.
Well, I would argue the goal of the meeting is to be efficient
Right.
and short, so
Yes.
it seems overly burdensome to make it a public meeting every week.
I
Yes.
think it would create opportunities for the schedule to slip if we tried to do that.
Yeah, so like I said, I don't need to go to every meeting. I can certainly keep up with the chief and what's going on, or with Steve, or, or something else. So if one of you or 2 of you want to do that,
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as you, I like the idea of rotating the schedule.
Yeah,
I would
I-
really make everyone.
I think
I
between.
don't know what my role's going to be, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
So the other thing that we might think about is that if the working group meets weekly, perhaps the building committee meets bi-weekly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
we have a regular, well, our plan is to have a regular meeting on the second Monday of the month.
Second Monday.
That's the goal, or what we planned when we first started out. It certainly can change. But we can have more meetings. I mean, Mondays is generally, I think, a good night for this group, and we can usually have the bigger room.
Yeah, so do we want to go to 2 meetings a month then, or? Are you okay with that?
Still a Zoom option, or is that gonna go away soon?
It goes away right now in April of next year.
Oh, okay.
Go to 22nd.
I thought it was the first, but I've taken my eye off that ball.
And this would be for this initial time frame that we're talking
Yeah.
about. We can relax a little bit once we get past January and we move into the next phase.
Yep.
We go to a monthly building committee meeting, maybe bi-weekly working groups.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if we're doing it bi-monthly, I guess that'd be okay starting at 6 o'clock, so that we're not going too late. I don't know if that's a burden on anybody. No, sorry, at 6. Yeah.
Do the second and fourth Mondays. perhaps.
Sure.
Well, we usually meet this, second
I
and
think
fourth,
we're
sorry.
usually the second Monday, weren't we?
Yeah. Well, right now it's the 13th, so if we met on, say, the 25th and then the 8th of, I haven't,
Did we agree that Monday's the right day?
We did. We did, but we could change it.
Yeah, I mean, we really haven't stuck to that, so Mondays don't. are
Monday's
ideal.
no longer my best day.
Yeah.
If I'm the only one, I'll deal with it.
Howard, Thursdays are good.
I would just say, yeah, I mean, other than,
Good either. Thursdays are worse than Mondays.
Oh, okay.
I would say, Tuesday, I might occasionally need to be remote, because those are also school committee nights sometimes.
I have select board meetings
On Tuesdays.
on Tuesday, well, not every Tuesday, but I mean,
So we're probably won't, are we zeroing in on Wednesday?
Wednesdays? Wednesdays are actually my easiest days, so.
Yeah, I mean, Wednesday would be fine with me.
Wednesday would be better for me.
yeah, I might have an advisory meeting, but I mean, I just might rely on someone else to take notes.
So that would be the 27th, be exactly 2 weeks from today.
We probably will not get that room, we'll need to be in here or somewhere else.
And then the 10th. And one after that, we might have to be
You may want to change it since it's the night before
the
Thanksgiving.
night before Thanksgiving. I mean, I'm away that whole week, but I can Zoom.
Well, if we start with these first two,
Yeah.
right, so
See
the next
how
one
it
will be the
goes.
27th of October,
27th and then the 10th.
and the 10th of November.
We do have town meeting on the 9th. The warrant's only 13 articles, so I'd like to think we're gonna wrap up in 2 hours and be done with it, but it's a slight possibility it might go to the 10th. Hard to say.
13 articles?
Well, I mean, the floodplain
Don't want
bylaw
Jason,
could
huh?
really throw things for a loop.
Okay, so we'll say alternating Wednesdays,
6
6
p.m.?
p.m. And then, so what day is the working session?
Monday.
Right now it's Mondays at 3. We should determine who should be there besides the chief and us.
Yeah, Mondays at 3 or.
I'm very interested in the sustainability month, the November ones, and I can make it 3 o'clock.
I actually have a weekly meeting at 3 o'clock on Mondays, so.
Just internally.
But I mean, if we're meeting as I don't know if it's, I'm rethinking, I don't know if it's necessary that we be at every single one if we're meeting basically every 2 weeks to talk about what was discussed.
Right, I mean, if it's better for Chris to take one of them, and John in November, then,
Yeah. Okay.
And
But
if
yeah.
there's another time that's better, I also,
Yeah, I mean, if it's, I don't have an issue listening in, I guess, I'm not sure what's gonna go on at them, if there's gonna be a big benefit to having one of us there or not. I mean, certainly, the chief needs to be there.
And one thing I'm curious about is what are the deliverables, like what things do we have to review? What do you definitely need answers from the committee on? Like that might inform how many meetings we need
Yeah.
to definitely have.
well, the idea of the working group is that we'll be having discussions primarily with chief and working through the program, working through some initial test fits, and bringing everything back to you every other week. But, the more eyes that can be part of that, you never know what may come out of that discussion,
Yeah.
which could help.
I mean, I'm gonna want, if Matt has time, I'd like him to attend because, he's gonna own this building, so to speak, he and the chief, when it's done, so, and having been through the police station, he's got some real world and recent experience. And so his thoughts about this are important as well.
For regular committee members, we can't make decisions at those meetings though, right?
No,
So it's informational.
yes.
I'm still interested in all the November meetings, but,
Okay.
Well, so why don't you have the first couple, I mean, I wouldn't be able to make the Monday meetings, if nobody here can make it, let's see how, if, you know, Matt and the chief and if you're there occasionally, see how that goes, that you guys meet and then we discuss, you know, a week later to recap everything, and if that goes smoothly, great. If we need to have somebody on the committee there, then maybe we find a different day and time.
Okay.
I'll throw mine.
As an efficiency thing, were you hoping to do Monday, having meetings and having board meetings, that way there's not multiple trips back and forth? So would it effectively be less expensive moving forward, having it all in one day?
I mean, that's ideal, but if it doesn't work for the group, we're comfortable coming back. So,
I mean, just,
Well, that's a good question. Are the working meetings going to be in person and remote, or remote,
I think,
or as needed?
yeah, I mean, typically we would do them in person.
Mhm.
Don't have to, but it's nice to sit across the table
Right.
and discuss things.
Because Ron had sent it out as a Teams meeting. It wasn't really discussed.
Yeah,
So I don't know if he meant it was gonna be remote, or I'm glad
just give you the option, yeah.
Steve brought it up.
yeah. It can be either or.
Because
'Cause
we've done them all different ways.
I was gonna say, we've planned a lot of buildings through the pandemic,
Yeah.
all remote.
Well, where I thought Steve was going is, should we move the working group to Wednesday?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I
Too.
can you do that?
Yep.
I can do that.
How does that work for you guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you had it, I guess, a little
Wednesdays
later
at
in the
3.
day, then you just roll it into the 6 o'clock meeting after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So with Wednesdays at 3,
have
I think
more
I can,
flexibility.
I can make those on a more regular basis. So as long as we're not at 3, which it sounds like we're not, I would appreciate being on the invite, and I'll just make the ones I can.
Well, we should just plan, you know, if other people want to sit in, because if we have more than one of us there, then we gotta.
Are you now making the Wednesday meetings?
I have the flexibility to make the Wednesday meetings. I mean, Wednesday afternoons are better than Monday afternoons.
So why don't we put you, me, and Chief on the invites, and then the meetings that folks are interested in will sub out? Is that, you just let us know when you want to be in.
I think Blythe is attending also.
I don't have to, I mean, I said.
Well, we can divvy them up, that you go one week and I go another week or something, or I guess between the 3 of us, we can decide who wanted to go to which one.
Okay.
Sure.
And if me being involved is overcome, I'm probably not gonna make more than half of them anyway, so.
No, I don't think it complicates it. I think just with any of us going, we just want to make sure that it's coordinated.
Mhm.
But the biggest issue is that you just don't want to, unfortunately, don't want too many of us there, because then you have to.
So say 4 of us show up, can we just say, all right, one of us has to leave?
Yeah.
Then we go from there, right?
How about a Google document that you can see who hasn't had open appointment slots? Very simple.
I mean, I can make the next one, I'd kind of like to be there for the kickoff. So if you guys want to take the ones after that, then we'll figure it out.
Sure. Well, it's just only one, if you go, one of us
One
can
of you
go.
guys can go too.
Right. Yeah, I mean, my Wednesday, so it's starting at 3?
Yes.
Okay.
So the first one will be on the 20th.
Yeah, so I'll take the 20th and one of you take it as well.
You have a preference?
I want you to take it as the first one.
Okay. I'll try to be here on the 20th.
I won't be able to be here in person for a minute.
Okay.
Where's the location? Do you want to do them here in this room, or do you want to do them in the training room at the firehouse? Like, if you have things you can look at, that's actually physically there. It depends on the people. I mean, it's not, if it's like this, it'll be a little, I mean, if it's this many people, it'll be a little tight, but I mean, we can accommodate. Like, we have one big screen with the computer set up there, you know, that's what we use for.
Why don't we start over at the station? We can do a little walk around also. Take it from there.
So for the first, so you're gonna take the 27th then?
Sure.
Okay. And then once we get into November, we can see if people have interest specifically. Which we'll talk about next meeting.
And if we're gonna do the first one in person, but there may be someone that
We
might
could
be
do both,
calling
yeah,
in,
we
so
could-
you'll have,
yeah,
we'll
we'll
leave
set
it
up-
as
yeah.
team setup,
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
you can
I
sit
don't
in the
know,
room.
Teams so that I'm kicking this one to you, John, or your folks.
Yeah, you have teams, we have teams.
Yeah.
So,
I'm a Zoom person. I lost track of how many darn things I've used.
Teams, but I can't use it this year because it's locked to me. They wouldn't do
I
it.
do actually have a conflict.
Yeah.
20th next month. That's my only one.
Yeah, you're hard
Sorry.
work, sir.
No, I have continuing
We can
education, so I
set up
can't.
Zoom also.
Yeah, we
I need
can't
it.
attend.
Well, I can attend, but I can't, like,
You mean
I
I
can't
can't-
organize it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah, we'll go ahead and
We'll
organize.
organize, yeah.
Yeah, we'll
You just
send
have
the
to log
invites
in,
out.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
Send,
I could conflict.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I
I
could-
one Wednesday a month I have.
I could be remote and just have
meeting.
2 meetings up on the screen.
Well, why don't we start off with the first one, and
Yeah.
then see how it goes.
We'll
This will
start-
be the
we'll start-
hardest
we'll
part,
ease- we'll ease
the whole
into it.
project.
Yeah,
Yeah, third Wednesday of every month I'm out.
Okay. So we'll ease into it at 100 miles an hour.
Okay.
All right.
well,
Two completely unrelated thoughts before I forget them. The fire station is in the B1 district, and we just voted in new zoning for the B1 district. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Okay.
The other thing is, the B1 district does have design guidelines now, so if you don't have those, you should get those.
The new bylaws are up on our website, but I'll check
Yeah.
with Rich about getting you the design guidelines.
Okay. Thank you.
Good point.
Yeah. You have another?
Nope, those two
Okay.
related, A and B.
So the, so that kind of gives you a sense of this schedule. I do want to point out the green circles. We've identified those as potential community meetings. And, we want the community to be somewhat participatory here. So the thought was that we could do something perhaps at the end of this month, beginning of next month, and talk about program, existing conditions, kind of like what you'd like to see out there in terms of facility, but present some of the initial findings that we've come across. And then in November, share some of the early concepts with the community, get feedback on that. And then finally in November, beginning December, talk about this looks like the direction of the preferred option. So those are what we're thinking about for 3 targeted community meetings, and we put that out there for discussion. See what you think of that.
and how and where would that occur? What's the best?
Well, I think
Forum.
we have options. I mean, obviously there's the remote option, which
Yeah.
has pluses and minuses. If the committee's thinking of a, large space where the community can come, then we're talking about probably the middle school auditorium where town meeting will be held. And we just have to work to schedule that, and they do book out for things. We booked town meeting there a few months ago, so how available that is, I'm not exactly sure.
Is there any way to poll to know roughly how many people might come? I hate to, you get that space and then 2 people show.
Yeah, well, that's, in the early times, it's usually pretty sparse.
Yeah.
We're probably the majority of the people. I don't, I could be wrong,
I
but
did that for the B1 zoning studies, and we booked the middle school gym, and we had like 12 people. My guess is given the fact that all town meetings that I've been involved with, when there's a remote option, you get 5 or 6 people that show up and 40 people online. So, I think that's an inevitability. That being said, I don't think you can I don't know that we could just book the boardroom here and hope that not that many people show up.
That's the hard part, because if we do get 40 people to show up, we're just not safe. And you can't accommodate that many,
Yeah.
so.
And then you can't have a meeting. So, like, if you wanna be safe, you gotta book, the middle school or similar, and just accept the fact that it's empty. But then you gotta set up the remote options too, right?
Is there a bigger?
No. Oh, your first
Bigger.
Yeah, provided it's not scheduled out already, they're pretty, and the schools aren't doing, right now, we're not renting out spaces or, so.
What about the training room and the fire station?
I was gonna say the at bay of the fire station. That would really show
We
people
can do
what,
that.
Actually, I
what
was
it looks
gonna
like.
suggest the first one might wanna be held there, just so people can see firsthand.
Not this time of year. It's
No.
getting loud in there. They have fan coil units that are very loud, so it'd be very cold in there.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
I mean, I don't-
Perhaps.
if there's, I like the idea of having it there because that is something that I would like to do. I would like to have as many people from the community. That's one of the things I hated about not being able to have the building open through the pandemic is I would like people's eyes to be on the building and to see
To show
with
it.
their own eyes, hey, this is what we're dealing with. This is the conditions we're in, so they can understand when it comes to programming or anything else, they understand why. Because like we've discussed, I can talk and try to educate them from blue in the face, but when they can see it, I don't have to say much.
Right.
You just see it,
My impression was when this was possibly coming for a vote, back the time it last really did, there were those. I mean, some people have been through it, but I definitely think it needs to be done again. At some point in the whole process. I mean, maybe we just try a remote meeting the first time and see what kind of, we're not committed to a room that nobody shows up in physically. Whether we get more people, hopefully we would.
If we are concerned with people being too cold at the meeting, the first one's probably the only option for the
Fire
three of
station. Yeah, I
them
think
to have it at the fire station.
do it first at the fire station. I mean, if it's a little chilly, it is what it is. Like, and if the fans come on, we can work with you to shut them off and go, hey, put your jacket on. I sat through a town meeting in Medfield, and it was like 40 degrees. Everybody had to put on parkas on the football field. So it was,
Coordination for seating and whatnot, so.
yeah, I mean, we just have to get some extra chairs. We have some. We can set it up.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of giving people an in-person option for the first meeting rather than.
So how about parking?
remote.
So if there's a
Put them
large
at
turnout,
Old
there's no-
Town Hall and flashlights. I mean,
We have Old Town Hall.
maybe we can borrow the church parking lot if it's not, they're not having something going on that night. Chat with them.
We can chat with them. I got people chat with them. We have a good working relationship because before the pandemic, we did the senior dinner through their facility. So
Yeah.
I think we can do that. And then, another thing that they can see in person is we could use the site where it is. We use that area that's already kind of, been excavated, if you will, and hardened for overflow parking now. So people can park there. We have a good turnout, so if we get 60, 70 people, we'll just fill the overflow area.
Yeah, if we have it at the end of the month, we can all wear costumes.
I guess there is a chance too, if we had access to a large screen monitor, we could do in-person remote combo even in the apparatus phase. So if you want to project anything, we could have it for people in the room or with a Zoom call also. So something to think about.
I do have a little projector that we can, I just need a white screen. It can be as big as 117, 130 inches.
Okay. All right.
One of your first community meeting is, no date on it, but it's before the 29th. Is that potentially too early to have information?
It might be. Things are along the timeline, but we know that there
You
needs to be
you
some
got
flex-
placeholders there?
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. That's what I was saying, maybe the end of
Maybe it's after. the-
October,
yeah,
beginning of November sort of thing.
It's after the visioning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, just, I think we might wanna try to the first week in November, because the second week is town meeting, it's our second meeting. It's gonna get a little crowded, you've got a holiday in there for Veterans Day, it just
Right.
gets a little
So
nuts.
the week of the 1st.
If we're looking at Wednesdays, maybe you do that on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
That seems to be the night that works for people. Okay. And then, we talked about fire station tours. So, I don't know if that's something that you've been looking into, chief?
I'm happy to do fire station tours. I kind of have, I haven't reached out to chiefs, but I kind of have, after we kind of discussed a little bit. And I'm trying to put feelers out to my personnel for stations they want, or that they end up like.
Okay.
Have certain components that they like, or a way to, maybe a day room or to transition from day room to whatever was set up,
Mhm.
Looking at those things so we can look at those. I know Medfield, Walpole.
Have you seen Carver?
And I haven't seen it, but I reviewed some of that because that was a very thorough, long process. Like they had everything, very transparent from the very first meeting we had all the way till it was done. It was all out there in the public. So I did start looking at that because it was a very successful project. There was a lot of positive public feedback, and I talked to the chief and deputy chief there a few times, just to kind of get some advice or heads up about how they were able to make it so successful. So
Yeah.
I would love to go see that
Yeah.
in person.
Yeah. Another one that we've seen, we went with the town of Stoneham, is Needham, who just opened a new fire station.
I actually talked to the chief there too, so
Yeah.
I would love to go see that one in person. I'm driven by it. I had a couple of phone conversations
Yeah.
with him as well. So
Good.
that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if that's something you want to try and organize, kind of chief to chief, or?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
And I'll just get the information back to you, and we can
Yeah.
schedule it whenever it's convenient.
Blythe, do we need to do something to get a page up on the town website, or do we have?
We have a page that just has basic information about the committee. I can get some help from Tom to start to put documents up there, information. We also have a new transparency tool that we're subscription called ClearGov, and it does allow for project pages, but I haven't wanted to set it up yet because I don't feel like we know enough about the project to show. We're now starting to come up with a timeline. We don't really have a budget yet. Don't have any drawings, but when we do, I think is a tool built for things like this, to help people stay on top of projects, submit questions, get answers, all that kind of stuff. So we can start with a website. It will be pretty basic.
Well, maybe we could post when the first
Yep.
community meeting's gonna be.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Well,
we can get,
Even if it's just a place to put documents, right?
it is for now, and then we can
We could-
transition
we
to the
could
better
collect-
one when we have enough to really make it a helpful destination for people.
Yeah.
And then, announcing the first meeting, the website, our Facebook page, your Facebook page, the community page, maybe a message board sign out front, all those sorts of things.
That was successful for I think that drew a lot of attention. It was successful for, with 150, they put the little message board out there, and people got to see it drive by. Do whatever we can. There's a lot of traffic
Right.
going up and down Main Street there.
I think having all of our existing stuff up there, so that people don't have to go digging for it in different places, it's in one place.
Yep.
You can put these schedules up there.
Yep.
Okay. So I think that covers the gist of the study. Next steps would be after January, which we talked about. This just shows it graphically. Which was that next slide.
Yeah.
Going through schematic design, design development, construction documents. And this is where, take all those ingredients and make the soup. So,
Quick question.
Yes.
I know the station's a couple I mentioned. I think Needham's the only one that has the living above the bays. Is there another one you can recommend for us to look at?
Boston, our engine 42, which actually they're cutting the ribbon tomorrow with their opening. So that was done there with us. We also did it in Springfield, which is a White Street Fire Station.
Actually, we have a lieutenant out there that comes here to do training for us.
Oh, okay.
Twice a year.
Yeah.
That is a really good trainer, so he doesn't bite his tongue either, so we'll have to give us a true opinion of
Oh, great.
that.
Yeah, so that was another one. Both of them very constricted sites, so the only choice was to go up. So create a layer cake effect. Yeah, so this is what we talked about with the overall schedule, taking you on to the next fall for a town meeting, town votes, I should say, to vote to appropriate for construction. And then we clicked it on the next slide. This is some of the detail about the community engagement, which we kind of talked about, but the whole idea with the late October, early November, talking about the programming and the existing conditions up front, then get in and get some feedback on some of the early designs in November, and then late November, early December, talking about what the probably the preferred solution is going to be. So kind of walk the community through that. So, because we've seen in other communities where we're working, get to the end, well, here's your solution. Like, well, what happened? How did we get here? So this is a little bit of baby step approach, which I think would be good to help bring the community along. And then on top of that, with the next slide, using all the different tools that are available to us, between the local cable access, getting people involved through Teams or Zoom meetings, using, you mentioned Facebook or Twitter, something to that effect to inform people. The local newspaper, we forget about that, but a lot of people still read the newspaper, and getting that out there, information out through that too. So, and then you mentioned the website. So we'll work with you guys to help get information out on a regular basis.
What is the local news? I'm sure Metro West, but is there the local
Sun
free paper?
Chronicle covers us sort of, as much as any newspaper does anymore.
Okay.
So you just grab from all different papers.
I mean, the one consistent concern we've heard from a resident who's come to some of the meetings is having to pay for temporary conditions. How are we possibly going to fit this on the site, and how much are we going to spend on?
Phase the construction, that it can still be used while you're building.
Oh, I agree, and that's why I said, look, we've got to study it first so we can come up with a solution, because that person would like us to move to a whole nother site. And so there's no phasing of construction of temporary facilities, and that's not necessarily realistic either. So we've got to have a thoughtful answer for that, which I know we will.
Do you have people who have signed up for email blasts from the town?
The website doesn't do that yet, but we're working on it.
Okay. That's a great way to get information.
I know, I believe you, that's why I'm
Yeah.
keen on the new website.
Okay.
It doesn't have that functionality that would help us in this regard.
Yeah.
I got a couple comments on the community engagement. So, I mean, I think we're good for the feasibility. Maybe we'll have it, but I see the value in it. In the design and construction, it looks like there's this period where we're hoping to kind of bang it out. I'm not, my gut's telling me that's not the right approach. I think we might need a community meeting or two in the upfront phase.
Sure.
Of the 2022 schedule.
Yeah.
So maybe like take one or two of the meetings out of this, where you guys got them sort of grouped together and spread them out. I think we're gonna need more check-ins, I think. And more thinking out loud here, I think the check-ins are gonna have to continue even in construction. And maybe this is a question for Blythe and Matt, but in terms of like construction updates and finances and stuff, how do we start to get that message out as we're going through construction? Are there updates at town meetings, or at the select board meetings? Or do we need to have certain meetings?
We've done on other projects where we do a very brief progress update once every 2 weeks with photographs, because people can read bullets and stuff, but they really want to see the photographs. And you can't let the public into the construction site because of liability and so forth. So you keep up with that and you post that on the town website.
And the clerk of project pages will allow us to have a timeline, have pictures, have budget, show how we're doing compared to schedule and budget, post whatever documents we need to post.
So
Keep
the
people
goal
really.
for that would be to post those updates to the website.
Yep.
So people could, that's where
Absolutely.
people would access it.
Yep, and then, hey, I've got a
Chat.
question about, the June 15th update, in this forum, let you email a question, get answered back, that sort of thing. So we can promote that as a way, while we're getting a new website up that is more interactive than the one we have.
But in any committee, like the police station, for the ones I've been here for, the all-day roof, you have a committee, that there's an approved budget, and there's an AIA 702, I think it is, 703, that goes out and the committee approves that monthly, and that's all public record, so and we can obviously post it again, but it is shared.
Yeah.
And we can take the construction updates even further and do basically video walkthroughs.
Yeah, I guess, so I guess my
basis,
point
which
is,
we've done.
and I guess we don't need to solve the problem now. I guess I'm
Yeah.
just thinking, I think we need I don't think we can assume that the public will come looking for and able to find the information. I think we will need to figure out how to collect it a little bit more so it's easy for them to find.
And advertise the heck out of where they get it.
Yeah, and then.
It's almost like a whole.
And then we'll be meeting through construction.
Right.
If they don't want to email a question, they could come to one of the meetings
Yep.
and say, hey, I saw,
And you want to determine what you put out there, because there's going to be thousands of documents and tens of thousands potentially
Right.
of photographs. You're not going to
Right.
post everything, or it's just going to blow up your website. So what do we want to give? Certainly want to give visuals, because that's what everybody's looking at, and then you can figure it out from there, how much more, whether it's the.
Is it worth it doing a video of the current station the way it is? Is there someone good at that you could
It
watch?
already is from Norfolk Community Television.
Okay, great, well, get that out there and say, if you can't come to this tour, watch this.
But Aaron, I agree with you with the upfront, but once the town goes to fund the budget, the number's there. They're gonna know what the number is, and then you're gonna do their monthly payouts. It's once.
Yeah, I know, I hear you. I know the process is there. I'm seeing people wanting to check in and be like, hey, I just want to make sure this isn't the police station happening again, right?
And you're going to have more than just the contractor's application for payment. You're going to have your FF&E and other payments going on.
Well, that's where this tool will allow us to update and show people how we're doing compared to whatever the multi-million-dollar budget's gonna be. We don't need to post every AIA payment, but we can see in the bigger picture, we've authorized 12 million, hopeful here. And, we're at this point, we're halfway through construction and we've spent 6 or 5.5.
Yeah, so I guess my point, I'll re-summarize my point, and I guess maybe at some point in the future, we need to have a meeting, you know, architect, project manager, town, and just say, hey, we need this sort of like public construction update vehicle. I mean, let's agree to what it is, and we'll figure out how to manage it, kind of thing.
Well, back I mentioned Procore, which you can assign different levels, which I don't know if you guys use or you require, which they can.
Yeah, we actually have used Procore. It typically comes through the contractor,
Right.
but we all will be able to log on.
And you can set limits of what's shared, what's not, what
Right.
needs to go to the public, real easy. And it's basically just another web app, but it's a tool that should be, or probably will be used at some level, whether we do it or the contractor does it.
Is that for the public or for us?
You can share you can have unlimited users on it, so you can share whatever data level you want to share with. And that's kind of the reason I wanted to do it ourselves, because we wouldn't be paying a markup, but then we can also parse out what needs to go out and have the control.
Now, does that mean that every member of the public that wants to use it has to have a Procore login?
I don't think so.
Or they can just sign, they can sign up for it, and it's like a
I
mass
think
mailing
yeah, I
address?
believe it was.
But I think you're right, having a meeting at some point to discuss what we're doing with all of this.
Because it may be as simple as like sharing the clerk of the works report. Right, but we may decide that has everything in it.
Yep.
I don't know, talking out loud at this point.
But yeah, to get back to your original point, I think community involvement too during kind of SD, DD, CD, so maybe it's one at
Yeah, we
the
can
completion
switch,
of each
maybe at the end
phase.
of each phase, we can do an update to that. And the reason we had bunched those together at the end, we didn't, because we weren't thinking about a lot of community involvement as we just were documenting everything, but that's completely fine. But the point was to, okay, now we know exactly what we got leading up to your votes, so, yeah, that's fine. I actually like that idea, Aaron, about spreading it out. So you don't just go away for 9 months.
Yeah, I think we'll get questions. And
Yeah.
what do you guys do? What'd you guys do for the 9 months?
Yeah, where you been?
And now you're done and you want us to approve it.
Yeah, no, good point. Okay, and then the last thing had to do with what we have versus what we need. And we did the hazmat reports, condition assessment, site plans, some initial programming, which, there's a lot of detail in there. That's it. There was a lot of work that you did, so that was terrific. Previous study work, and then we have our geotech lined up to go out and do work. When we say, yes, let's go out and have a look, they just need to schedule the driller. So that seems to be, and you know this too, we found some lag time in finding drill rigs available to get out in the field. So,
I don't know how far I'm allowed to go with that, but I know some of it are closer than others.
and
but-
we may ask
Yeah.
for that help.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's actually a driller in Norfolk,
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
and they're one of the larger companies in the area.
Well, I guess, so, I mean, let's just talk if we think a geotech investigation at this point is warranted. I know you wouldn't always do it in a feasibility phase. I guess the concern is quantifying for this estimate,
Right.
how much ledge we think we're gonna have
Yeah,
to take
I
out.
think doing some early geotech would be good.
Yeah, even if it's just a probe, maybe.
Yeah, we might wait a little bit to see how it's shaking out as to where the building may go, just so you can focus more on that particular area, because you don't want to start
Yeah, I mean,
dropping probes everywhere, doing test pits everywhere.
a day or two of exploration should come pretty cheap, you know, in the grand scheme of things, and especially with the ledge that's out there, if you, rather than doing probes, if you were to take some bedrock cores, you can then look at it from a standpoint of, are we gonna need blasting, can it be done with a hoe ram, or what's gonna be the method of removal?
Yeah, and I don't have it with me, but we did get something from Sanborn Head, which I think they talked about 8 to 10 probes in a day, depending on soil conditions.
Yeah.
So, the other aspect of that is not just geotech, but do we have town sewer right out here? Or
No, but you heard hopefully the other night that
Yes.
and on the, I suggest on October 28th, there is a Zoom meeting to have the final presentation on the proposed sewer system, if you will. And I know that the engineers will touch on Woodward and Curran on putting the treatment building behind the building, so that then force main can go from there down to the old town hall and across to Freeman Kennedy.
There's also a relatively new septic system in there that was designed for
Right.
the police and fire, so the capacity of the building is
Yeah.
shrunk since that was done, so the gallons per day should be more than sufficient.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking. The sewer was new to us last night, so.
Yeah, so they're doing that on the 28th, it's a remote meeting.
Whose meeting is that?
That's the planning board.
That's the planning board, okay.
Yeah,
Have they identified a location for their?
just on the
Station.
site. The building, treatment building would be on the fire station site.
Okay.
Where exactly, we've not got that level.
It's just very convenient in terms of where the pipe turns
Oh, sure,
to go to where it wants to go.
Sure.
So, and the town owns it, so it makes a lot of sense.
yeah, I think it's, the helpful thing is we're just starting this, so there can be some conversation.
Yeah.
If that's gonna get legs and actually happen, and we don't know that yet, this is the completion of the, study phase of a sewer master plan,
Okay.
will then give us a chance to work together to figure out, well, we need to put the fire station here, so you can have it, but it's gotta go over there.
Or maybe it becomes part of the building.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's just something we'll have to make sure we're coordinating with them.
I thought we already sent existing fire station plans, we got them from the building department. I know I sent them to you guys, so if you could check on that. And I'm just jumping in because I'm waiting for my call to go to my other meeting.
Okay.
The existing survey, I'm pretty sure there is one, it just needed to be updated with what we acquired for the church.
Right, and that's what we've shared with Mitch already.
Oh, okay,
So, I don't know why I said existing survey.
That's why I'm-
I thought
Yeah,
we
because
Yeah, I
said
thought that and the fire station plans
okay,
have gone to you
Yeah.
guys, but we'll confirm.
I'll talk to Ron again, and then,
I mean, again, you're still gonna do your, like you said before, you gotta own it, so
Exactly.
using the information
Yeah.
that's there, similar to the hazmat.
right.
and I think Matt can be very helpful with, because he was here for the clearing of that site and some of the work on this, the ledge that's already, it's there, so.
Yes,
Where,
I'm familiar with the ledges on that site.
how much ledge was removed?
Quantify it.
Well, just in, like a depth.
Many feet in certain areas, I want to say. I think upwards of 20 at some points.
And was it rock?
Very hard ledge, very hard ledge.
Was it blasted?
Oh, yes, we did, spent about $150,000 from blasting it out, and we didn't have to pay to truck it out, we were able to work out a deal.
Okay.
Vendor wanted it, so we had free trucking, but there was 2 weeks of trucking, multiple trucks a day.
Yeah.
It was, we lowered the elevation of that significantly.
Right.
And it goes all the way to the front of the building. But we did do like a 90 by 90 deeper blast. We didn't confirm it, but we had a heavier shot in where we thought the new apparatus bay was going to go. So we feel pretty confident that we have a footprint laid out already that would aid in this.
How far below current ground surface is that,
I think we did it for, they shut it down, what did we want it, for a frost wall? And the, I forget the dimensions off the top of my head, but it was supposed to be clear of that. It was how they projected the blast, but obviously we didn't go into the roadway.
Yeah.
And we kept away a little bit because their underground electricity came over there, and water comes in on the other side, but there was underground telecommunications, fiber, electricity on that side, so we kept it back a little bit, but predominantly that was blasted in a box for the envisioned apparatus bay that we had drawn out.
Yeah, but I know it's a little too detailed maybe, but do you know if they just went 4 feet? Or
And I think we went
beyond
deeper,
that?
so that way we
Okay,
could have a 4-foot depth, so we wanted to make sure, so we had them blast, but we never confirmed, we never pulled out because there was no reason to pull it out, but
Right, right.
the intent was is that I think it was so we could put that all in there, so it's supposed to go deeper than that.
So if you, from the street, if you look to where the ledge was removed, it's all the way from the back up to the street, you said?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
all ledge.
Which I think begs the question, I think this isn't necessarily like a geotech research project. I think there's a little bit of like consulting here, right? Like we almost, I think, want geotech advice on what the best method to proceed is. Like, I mean, we have a lot of information there. We have a general idea of what we want to do. What's the most effective method of moving forward efficiently with our geotech studies and research, right? And we probably should have a meeting with them,
Yep.
you know, up front to talk about that before they get going.
Sure.
Well,
I can give you the mass rock excavation front end,
I mean,
if you'd like.
yeah,
I had
Yeah,
completed
that'd be
before.
good.
because they might say that, yeah, there's enough, I mean, for this phase, we just kind of want to just know the number
Mhm.
of what it's going to cost to get the
Right.
ledge out. We know it's going to be, you're not putting piles in or anything. So it's kind of just getting to me anyway, I think it's just getting an idea of how difficult the ledge is going to be removed and how much needs to come out. Yeah.
The
I
reason
mean,
I
we don't
asked
have
the question about the depth that they went to with the blasting is, instead of doing borings, we know there's rock there.
Yeah.
But the borings aren't gonna tell you anything when you go in there and look at rock that's already been blasted. So if you come in with an excavator and you do some test bits, then you can confirm that that's actually been blasted, you know,
Right.
deep enough for an excavator to rip out.
Right.
And that there won't be anything additional required. Test bits are gonna be a lot cheaper than running
Yeah.
borings
Absolutely.
and faster.
So maybe we have the geotech on the
Yeah.
phone for one of
Could-
these mornings.
One thing I've seen done on a lot of projects in the past is, you know, for towns or municipal, is the town would supply a backhoe or an excavator or something like that.
They don't have one.
Okay, fair enough.
We have a backhoe, but
It's not gonna do
It's not
that.
gonna-
it's not new, it's not old, but it's not new, and there's only one of them, and it's
You don't
coming in the
break
snow
it.
season, so I don't think the DPW would feel comfortable.
Could
Makes sense.
Kadesh provide one?
They have they have a wheeled one, I don't know
Yeah.
if it's really done for, I
He
don't know,
doesn't,
wheeled ones.
he doesn't wanna break his machine either.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, what we did in the
Just-
past is
Yeah.
we leased machines, and I hired an operator to work for the town, and we moved the mats to try to be cost savings.
Sure.
But, you know, we can easily lease a machine, but then we have to have an operator
No, you'd better off at that point, just hiring someone. to do it.
contract it out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, ideally, and I think what we're all getting at is we just don't want to go in there and start, you know, drilling anywhere. We need to have an idea where we think we're gonna put the
Yeah,
building, like
absolutely.
you said.
Yeah.
And to some point, where some of our utilities are gonna go. Because
Right.
if we have some big structures going in, sometimes those are deeper than the
Well,
foundations.
definitely, or the foundation's gonna have to
Yeah.
go deeper where they come in and doing it.
So, if we don't have, if we got blasted ledge basically in a hole, you're right, drilling is not gonna do anything. You need to open it up with a track machine, most likely. But some of the other areas on the property, that haven't been disturbed, those might be a candidate for some borings. But it depends on, you don't wanna pull the trigger too early, I think.
Yeah, you might not
Agreed.
need the borings
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Because we really want to sort of map out as much as we can, because we want to make sure that that gets into the documents, that they are not going to come back and say, hey, you got ledge, it's time for a change order. It's like, you know it's ledge here, and you gotta price it up. Whether you make the site unclassified or whatever, you gotta word it so that it's owned, especially since we know it.
Right.
When you don't know it and you encounter it, well, it's a different story, but we know that a good portion of it is ledge. It's part of the design.
You can actually see the vein, because we did do some in the parking lot too, where we drilled a couple of holes and stuff, see what was going on, and it's a big vein. So I have a pretty thorough understanding of where that's at, for what that's worth.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of knowledge is just as important as
Yeah.
going out and poking around. So
Were they
that's-
coming out for the, I mean, they wouldn't be normally part of the existing conditions review, I don't think, but were they gonna come out? I mean,
We haven't.
would they come out and take a look around?
Yeah, that might be a good next step, maybe have an on-site meeting and talk about what we know. Yeah,
Who's the geotech again?
Sanborn Head. Yeah. Good? basically all that we had tonight.
Phase one, we don't have a phase one on the site?
I thought we had, phase one environmental, yeah.
I thought phase one environmental.
We found out we needed one.
We've done the air quality test, and there was another one we've already done, isn't there?
Yeah, we did the hazardous.
Yeah,
They're
this,
having that,
this would be like a records review to see if there's been any spills.
Previous releases and.
no, there hasn't
Yeah.
been one that I'm aware of.
Okay. So the answer's no.
Yeah, and that's what we thought, so we've asked Amar to look into that too.
Is there no estimate involved with feasibility?
Estimate for what?
Cost estimate.
Cost estimate?
Oh, us?
Sorry, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this was just, we have received and we need. We've got a whole detailed proposal about
What are you saying, you don't see it?
I'm sorry, I'll
You're looking at the
I will
schedule.
ask a better
I was
question.
looking at the schedule.
I'm looking at the schedules.
Oh.
I'm seeing
Oh.
schematic design development,
Oh.
CE's estimates.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the feasibility study schedule, and I'm seeing no indication of estimates.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we're providing estimates.
Yeah, because in order to fully build out,
Yeah.
a page about the project, I don't wanna go put a number out there that people, that's the only one they'll remember. If it's not the right one, we don't have that information yet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all built into the concept design options. We just didn't identify it specifically.
The ones identified are the deliverable estimates, right? The independent estimates, the formatted ones.
Yeah, those, right, that estimate coming through PM&C, our cost estimator, and we'll do them for each of the options that we look at. And then for the preferred option, we'll do something a little more detailed.
I have a question. Do you think that 3 weeks from now, which is basically when you want to have this meeting, you're going to have enough detailed information that you'll be able to really, I know the community's going to have a lot of pointed questions, and do you think you're going to have enough to run with on that? Or is it going to be, should we wait, get the results back from some of these, and also learn the program? And it just seems like it's not enough time, in my opinion, but
You mean for the first community meeting?
yes, like, so you have, it just seems like you're not going to have enough information that,
I'm hoping that, I think you got a point, but I'm also hoping that gets people out to start getting engaged with us, and part of it is hearing what their frustrations are, or their concerns are, so that we're aware of those as we go through this, and we can be prepared to answer them in time. No, we won't have all the answers, but join us on this journey, right,
I was worried about the existing conditions report, if they want to have existing conditions, if they don't have them all at that point.
Yeah, I mean, we're committed to getting that done,
Okay.
so we can speak to it. So I think we're talking about the 3rd of November,
Yes.
is that,
So you'll have done the walkthrough, but maybe the report's not done yet.
but we'll have information to share.
And you've got a program that's pretty well coming together,
Yeah.
so.
Right, good solid agenda on the public meetings, so everyone knows what we're gonna talk about and what we're not gonna talk about.
Yeah.
Set expectations.
Yeah, it's not necessarily to give them all the information the first meeting.
No, but hey, we're starting and we want you in on the
Come to the next
beginning.
meeting and we'll give you more information.
Right.
Yeah.
To that point, I think it's important to have the schedules updated so that the community can see just where they do have the opportunity to be involved in, say, the piece. And I'm sorry, I just want to clarify my estimate question. So when we get the review draft of the final report in December-ish, there'll be a cost estimate related to what's being presented.
Yeah, you'll actually have discussed those cost estimates before
As
you
we
get
go.
the draft report.
Yeah.
We'll probably talk about that back and forth a little bit.
So for feasibility, it's kind of an ongoing rolling estimate process.
Yes.
What you're saying.
Mhm.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
We're gonna be busy.
It's an iterative process, and depending on how the options flush themselves out, we talk about renovations, this renovation's new, there could be some variations on those too. And there may be some cost implications on that, so. That'll all be part of our discussions.
Well, I think we need to be really careful also with discussing construction cost versus total project cost,
Yep,
and making sure that, you know, we're ready. You know, we're going to have to talk about numbers before we're ready to talk about numbers. You know, kind of the litmus test with this room, and then, you know, kind of then the greater public. So what we don't want to do is, you know, we don't want to be afraid to talk numbers, but the first number someone hears, they are going to latch onto it.
oh yeah,
You know, and talk about all the numbers you talked about in the past and where we thought it was going to go.
Yep.
So we just have to be careful that we do that strategically.
hopefully they don't remember the 8 to 10 million we put out December of last year when we were having the police station debrief.
They will, that's right. They watch this meeting.
Don't start low. Don't start with low numbers.
Yeah, But now we have experts, we had me before,
Yeah.
fall on sword.
Alright. Who's gonna own the website, like actually physically altering the website?
So, I mean, I have created a basic page. I can get Ton's help to add documents as we get them. But and we are gonna go through a process of replacing the website, but it's probably gonna take into early to middle of next year. So what I wanna do is transition to this subscription platform that we have that allows you to have a project and track it. And I think that'll be much more useful for the public and much more interactive for them, once we have enough data to make it a worthwhile destination for people.
How will we as a committee decide what goes on there?
We can talk, I think we have a meeting to talk about all those sorts of things. I'll get you some examples of what it looks like for other communities as an idea. We can use that to kick off and talk about it.
Because we should probably put something like now.
I could, it's just I wanted to make sure that there was enough there to make it something that people could really feel like they got what they're looking for. So let me get some examples out to everybody, and maybe we can put that on the agenda to talk about.
Showing like the citizen perspective of my brain, we're already on the road. You know, the committee, things are already in motion.
Yep.
So.
Go back to the working session, so how long do you expect those to go each Wednesday?
We like to try to keep meetings to an hour.
Okay.
If it goes longer, it goes longer.
Sure.
But that's always the goal, we start to lose
Maybe
people
roughly
after that.
3 to 4 o'clock. Do
Yeah.
you want to, so if we're trying to align it with committee meetings on the Wednesdays, did you want to try and push the working session later so you don't have 2 hours to kill in between, or?
I guess the idea of having it at 3 is that if it runs over, you have some breathing room and
Sure.
take a break
Get
before
something.
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So,
And we'll probably have to be remote for the first one, so something else. Usually Wednesday afternoon's very good, but I have.
Sure.
No, I have to get my learning credits before the end of the year. But I can probably have it on while that's on, so.
okay.
Taking I guess a step back to the geotech meeting, if you ever do get one of those scheduled for them to go out to the site, I appreciate going out there and being involved in it too,
Absolutely.
if it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, what we'll do in terms of communication is we'll make sure we do everything through Vertex as your primary
Mhm.
contact, and we'll copy everyone if you'd like, however you want to do it. But we'll make sure we're not off on the side doing things that Steve's like, what are you doing? So,
Can we create a committee email inbox like that we subscribe to, rather than all 7 or 8 people being CCs? Do you know if that's something?
Well, for the town, we have to pay $100 for each email subscription. I don't know if it's annually.
Yeah, we have,
So
however many
schools are
Google.
free, but however many people we'd add to give a town one, there's a fee to that. You're just talking like put a mailing list together, so it's.
So like fire station committee at town.norfolk.
Who's gonna monitor that?
Well, we would all be members on it, and then I don't know if Kevin as the chair would be the admin. It's just an idea. I see emails with 75 different people CCs, and it gets crazy. It's just an idea, but nothing. I didn't know if it was easy. I didn't know if there was a fee.
Maybe we'll have a little private Facebook page now.
No.
I mean, I can ask Tom if we put, is that the same as a distribution list? Or no?
What would happen, like, who would write, like, so if we all, not me, but if you guys had it, how would you know who was writing what? Who would erase things, who would,
You would have, yeah, it's like a, when you look at your inbox and Outlook, it's not your inbox, it's fire station committee inbox, and then you're like subscribed to it.
Right.
If it's too confusing, I
We
mean.
do it sometimes for pre-quals and so forth. We set up a job-specific email, but we've never used it for like general email. It's usually something very specific.
Yeah, I mean, like, we have one for, if you want to apply for a job here, we have it jobs@norfolkma.us, and then that's monitored by one person.
And we just gotta be careful, because if all the committee's on it and we post to it, isn't there open meeting law issues with doing that?
Right, and you
So we
can't be
usually go
discussing
through-
outside of a meeting, so, you know, if we have it and then you're talking to each other that way, that is a violation, so that's something to be careful about.
I think back to the
Disregard everything
board.
I've said.
No, it's,
Like, bureaucracy and regulation will
Right.
feed us in the end.
I really think back to the Procore, which would give all the information in one spot, so you're not getting inundated with emails. You log on if you want, you can see what's going on if you want, you don't have to. There's no communication. Then
The one thing about Procore, if we have the general contract, because it won't really, unless we do it ourselves, we won't have Procore until the contractor comes on board, and
that's what I had looked into doing previously, is bringing in and having our own, because they're gonna add it in as a fee. It's, if we say that we're running Procore, then you guys can see it all, we can,
but they're uploading submittal, you'd have to have their own.
why couldn't they use the same one?
Because you'd have to allow them administrative rights
Kevin?
to use it.
So when I had
go to advisory, if someone could take note of who motioned and closed the meeting at what time, anything else important you guys discuss? Yes, I'm gonna extricate myself carefully. That'd be great.
I had them,
Thank you.
I had them do the least expensive option for our construction value, that's why they come up with the prices, how many millions of construction you do annually. And I basically said that we're looking at some 8 to 10 million over the next several years, so it ended up being around $7,000 a year for a subscription. And they said you could segregate who has it, so you can give administration rights and not necessarily have it. So if you guys are talking, you could put the OPM in charge of owning it and then segregating it. But then you would see it, you wouldn't get a million emails, and it'd all be our data. That's kind of what I wanted to begin with, because going through these, I like to have, Dropbox is miserable, I feel. I just like it's nice to have in one spot, so you're not constantly trying to review emails. You can just go there and it's designated for what you're trying to focus on.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would say, the numerous emails does get annoying, but I probably wouldn't think to go on to Procore enough. to go in.
It could be set up that you'd have a notification, but then you get a notification by email, and, you know, when anything gets posted, and you can turn those on and off too, depending, but I don't know if it's, and I haven't done the way you're speaking about, I've used it through the GC. Usually they administer their own portion of it. For us to start administering their submittals, it's their responsibility. I don't want the town getting involved in the responsibility of potentially, oh, you held up a submittal because you didn't process it through.
I don't, yeah, I believe how I understand it is that it can be set up however you want, but we could own all the data, and it can be set up so it would be a direct communication to you guys, but just, it's a software program, so they log into it and it goes to whatever route it needs to go to.
That's a good follow-up question is, what is your plan for design review and communication with us throughout the design phase? Do you have a system like that? Are you looking at just emails?
I mean, in terms of sharing documents, yeah, we can do all kinds of different ways, but typically we bring all information here, we share it in an open meeting, and then we distribute it afterwards.
By email?
Via email, or if it's a large document, we can set up a Dropbox.
The town also has Google Drive, so we have hundreds of terabytes available if we need it. If that's easier, but with Dropbox, it seems, I don't know, I've never been a huge fan, even though they're great for communicating, but it's hard to keep track of a lot of it.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll pick up on what Matt's saying, right? I mean, I think, there's a couple different kinds of project management software out there, right? Procore has started with construction, and it's more about construction side of things than necessarily the design side of things. There's gonna be a lot of email. Dropbox doesn't hold files indefinitely, it's not necessarily organized. It serves the purpose of transferring files. I think what might be helpful is if we had some sort of project electronic storage location, right? And to Matt's point, the town has, the G drive. So maybe we can figure out a way to use G drive as our electronic document storage cabinet, right? So to John's point, maybe inevitably we're gonna get the emails anyway because it's part of being on a public committee. But you don't have to dig through your emails to figure out where the documents are. You could go to the G drive and, there could be a schematic design folder and there could be a design development folder, however it's so organized, right? That kind of thing. Right? And to that end, we probably don't want 7 iterations of SD posted on the town website because people are just gonna get lost, right? But you have the current version of SD posted on the town website with the 7 other versions that we've looked at on the G drive. So there's an archive for the committee to go look at. But you're not overburdening the public with too much information.
When you say future, you're talking Google.
Google, yeah.
I like that. I think that achieves what you're looking for. We
Yeah,
own the files and we keep them and
Having
it's.
been through many projects and having a project that went very poorly, communication and records were very difficult. That's why I'm such an advocate to make it so we own it for the fact that it was really difficult previously, so I only speak from not wanting to have things happen again.
I think the Google Drive's a good
It doesn't cost us
middle
anything.
ground right now, and if it turns into something that we need, something more elaborate, then we can take it from there.
We assign a knowledge manager or someone who administers that for the group and.
Probably somebody from DCAM would be really good.
I wish DCAM was better at it, but.
So I'll bring this back to our office too, and Jason Harris was on the call, he's actually very good with this. And we can talk with other people in the office too, just brainstorm on what,
Sure.
how we might be able to help you out. I'm sure you got people at Vertex that maybe can.
I was gonna say, we reinvented the wheel on this? I feel like this would have been done before, no? So,
Well, I mean, every firm has their G or Z drive or whatever it is, their main server. Have we utilized the towns? I can't say that we have, I don't know.
No. Yeah, we have done Google Docs with other communities
Yeah.
where they have it set up and provide us the ability to drop information out, so.
Because, I mean, you gotta look at it as who has access to it, who's setting it up, who's setting up the folders. You don't necessarily want to have everybody that can upload to it, but you want everybody to be able to
Right, I think
open
we-
up and download.
I think we want to, talking aloud, I think we want to push that off to the architect to sort of organize it in a way that, works for them, so we're not telling them what to do, and then we just get used to going through their file system kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
Take
so
it.
if you wanna talk,
Yeah.
talk about it internally and let us,
Yeah, we will.
let us know what works for you guys.
Yeah. Hopefully Jason's
somewhere
paying
that-
attention.
Some,
Go watch the recording.
Because you're doing it in your own office.
Yeah, of course.
So it's sort of, I mean, you got your file system, which is probably perfect, so.
we just need some way to access that,
Right.
or have it organized in an area that's easy to access.
Yeah, I mean, in 3 months, we're gonna have more emails than we know to do it, we're gonna be able to find it.
No, the Google Drive, I think, is a good way to go. Maybe there's a better alternative, but that's along the right track. That's somewhere that you can just go and look everything up.
And one thing on emails, we should probably, and it's tough to get into the habit, but start the email title, subject with, you know, Norfolk Fire Station, or so just some, because we all have other emails going on, so that search to, and then I usually put the name of the project and then whatever the topic happens to
Maybe
be.
we start everything NFT.
NFT
sure.
dash
Yeah,
subject.
Right,
Yep.
whatever it is.
Good.
Okay.
Okay. Good idea. Okay.
Good. Anything else anyone wants to discuss?
Meeting notes.
Okay. So, final agenda item is approval of the meeting minutes, previous meeting minutes. Chris, do you have what meetings those were from?
Yes, move that committee vote to approve the minutes of the September 13th and September 16th, 2021 regular meetings.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye. Passes.
So you were there, Justin.
Okay, sorry, Justin.
The delay strikes again.
Give it a second to catch up.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting if there's nothing else.
Second?
No, I need a motion first.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, who did the second? Say chief, Kenny chief. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right. See everybody in 2 weeks.